It's an absolute pleasure to follow my good friend, the member for Luton North, who spoke so passionately about the length of time that Luton has been associated with Vauxhall Motors, and appreciate the Minister nodding there. We've heard the automotive industry is critical to the UK's economy. It's a jewel in the crown of British manufacturing, and I agree with the comments said by our front bench about the importance of maintaining a good manufacturing sector in our country and the associated good skilled jobs. Luton is proud of our automotive heritage, and if I may for once carry on the football analogy by also saying, apologies, that we are proud of our Premier League football team. Generations of families have worked at the Vauxhall plant, making many well-known family cars, and more recently the medium-sized vans based on the Vauxhall Vivaro. I've seen the heritage displayed in all sorts of ways, including when I visited Summer's Primary School recently, who had the full history of Vauxhall set out on a montage where they'd drawn the cars and talked about the history from 1905. Yeah. And similarly, when I've been out talking to the people of Mid-Bedfordshire, I knocked on a door of someone who works at Vauxhall and is the daughter of one of the Unite representatives. Oh. I was pleased recently to meet with the Minister to talk about the importance of automotive to Luton and the need for a long-term strategy to safeguard the industry and good jobs in our town. And indeed, having joined this place in 2019, I first raised the need for a strategy specifically to support automotive industry some 3 years ago in July 2020. And the Minister has in fact seen me raise many an automotive issue, and if the member for Bosworth was here, I could assure him that I know many times I've raised the issues around semiconductors, electric vehicle batteries, gigafactories, supply chain issues, rules of origin and charging infrastructure. So there is a genuine interest and about the importance of all of it. I want to make sure that I have my points on record regarding the future of the Vauxhall plant and the future of electric vehicles in the Vauxhall plant, because 3 years on I'm still calling for that long-term plan from the government, and despite the Minister reciting many a meeting and many a visit and many a champion of X, Y and Z, where is the plan that we can all look up to and see how it's going to support our sector? Because we've seen this Conservative government preside over a 37% fall in British motor manufacturing since they came into office in 2010. Indeed, 8 out of 10 cars produced in the UK are exported, and yet exports of cars manufactured in the UK fell by 14% in 2022. So this government inaction that we are debating today threatens the future of automotive and threatens the future of Vauxhall in Luton, particularly its electric vehicle future. The UK is heavily reliant on battery technology from Asia, and while the UK currently falls under the threshold of rules of origin quotas, the ratcheting up from the beginning of next year poses a risk to the UK automotive industry. And as we've heard, Stellantis, the owners of Vauxhall, told the BEIS Select Committee inquiry into the supply of batteries for EV manufacture in the UK, there will not be sufficient battery production supplies in the UK or in Europe by 2025 and 2030 to meet the rules of origin requirements. And I am concerned, rather than working with the EU to suspend a ratcheting up in rules of origin requirements until 2027, we'll see too little too late from the government, and the Conservatives will oversee the imposition of 10% tariffs from January the 1st next year. And just for the nuance, those tariffs are 10 to 22% for electric vans, which particularly impacts the Vauxhall plant in Luton South. Overall, these tariffs would hinder the UK's struggling automotive sector, pass on yet more cost to British people already struggling with a cost of living crisis made in Downing Street, and would make the green transition unnecessarily unaffordable for millions across the country. Until we have sufficient domestic battery production, our industry will be at a major competitive disadvantage, in particular against Asian imports and specifically from South Korea, Japan and also China. The reality is that if the cost of EV manufacturing in the UK becomes uncompetitive and unsustainable, the future of domestic operations will be at risk. Decisions will be made by producers to move production elsewhere if there is no confidence in the UK government's desire to facilitate a sustainable automotive and electric vehicle market. And as the point was so well made by my honourable friend from Llanelli, particularly as British businesses are also facing the highest energy costs in Europe. It's also important that the government recognises the innovation and technological advancements posed by the wider industry. And through joining the all-party motor group, I've actually learned a lot about how motorsport in the UK, the best in the world, with the greatest engineering and tech teams, influences the ordinary automotive sector. There is a cycle that we've seen for many years where motorsport at the cutting edge develops innovative automotive solutions and efficiencies that you then see the automotive sector adopting later on for the wider market. We've heard about steps being taken on sustainable fuels, but also much more has been linked to the huge strides in technology relating particularly to software. And it's also right to remember how motorsport industry pivoted brilliantly during the pandemic to support the ventilator challenge. Yeah. So I raise this because if the government sits back and allows the demise of our automotive industry, we will risk losing the world-class engineers, tech experts and motorsport companies, as they will simply look elsewhere for an environment that's more conducive to the sport. And that will be detrimental not only just to the entertainment side of motorsport, but also as a significant contributor to our economy and society. But we've heard earlier, Labour has an excellent plan to turbocharge electric vehicle manufacturing. In government, we'll prioritise an agreement with the European Union to ensure manufacturers have time to prepare to meet rules of origin requirements. We're committed to rapidly scaling up UK battery making capacity by part financing 8 additional gigafactories, creating 80,000 jobs, powering 2 million electric vehicles and adding £30 billion to the UK's economy. Labour will accelerate the rollout of charging points and give confidence to motorists to make the switch with binding targets for electric vehicle chargers. Our plan includes measures to make the UK a clean energy superpower by 2030 with net zero carbon electricity, lowering electricity costs for the UK car industry. And I look forward to supporting the Labour business team to make this a reality so that the young people in Luton South see a positive future ahead of them with good, skilled jobs for the long term.